Hello students, in part 2 of this video we will do 2 additional examples and summarize what we have learned. Our first example involves multiplication of a fraction. Remember, the inverse operation of multiplying a fraction is to multiply by the reciprocal. So let's create a do and undo chart for this algebraic side of our equation. So we have 2/3 times x plus 5. If we knew what x was, we would have to first multiply it by 2/3 and then add 5 to it. To undo an equation that contains this expression, we'll have to work in the opposite order or the reverse order using inverse operations. So the inverse operation of add 5 is to subtract 5. The inverse operation of multiply 2/3 is to multiply 3/2, the reciprocal of 2/3. So let's do our first step. We will subtract 5 from each side of our equation. Positive 5 minus 5 makes 0. So we have 2/3 x equals negative 2. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. We'll then multiply each side by 3/2. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we get 1 times x, or just x, equals. Now 2 is the same as 2 over 1. So we'll multiply across. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6 over 1 times 2, which is 2. So x equals negative 6 divided by 2, which is negative 3. Let's do one additional example before we summarize. This is going to be a multi-step equation. It has 3 steps. So let's first create a do and undo chart for our expression. We have 3 times x divided by 5 plus 1. If we knew what x was, we would first multiply by 3, then divide 5, and last add 1. So to undo that, go in a reverse order using inverse operations. So we'll subtract 1 from each side, then multiply by 5, and last divide by 3. So subtract 1 from each side first. Positive 1 minus 1 makes 0. So we have 3x divided by 5 equals 4 minus 1, which is 3. Now we're going to multiply each side by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So I get 3x equals 3 times 5, which is 15. Last step, divide each side by 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times x is x. So we get 15 divided by 3, which is 5. So x equals 5. And we can still substitute back in to see if we're right. 3 times 5 would be 15. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 3 plus 1 makes 4. So we know that we're correct. Now let's summarize what we've learned. An equation is a statement that two amounts are equal. When we have an unknown value, which is called a variable, in our equation, we can use inverse operations to isolate the variable. This is true for any equation. A do and undo chart can help us know what inverse operations to use and in what order.